So what's the first thing that springs to mind when you say BMW E36?
Yeah, it's probably rust.
So I bought this abandoned BMW E36 with the hope to restore it, modify it and bring it back to its former glory.
Even though my E36 was pretty much abandoned for a few years, the rust isn't even too bad.
Like, yeah, the wings are starting to bubble, but that's so common on these. The other side is also starting to go too.
But the underside of this thing is actually pretty good. There's just a load of surface rust and that's about it.
Now the problem with my E36 lies in the boot, and as you can see down here, yeah, it's pretty bad. There's a hole here and all this bit around here, look, there you go, it's all rotted out there. So yeah, this needs to be sorted. And also another part that's not too great is this boot lid. Like, there's a few rusty bolts and stuff like that, but underneath this actual plate here, it is started to properly lift. Behind there is just completely rotted, and we've also got a little bit along there and quite a bit along there. So let me know down below, is this repairable or is it better to just get a new boot lid?
This steering wheel is absolutely hanging. I forgot about this. Oh, look at that. That is absolutely disgusting.
So the question is, will it start? And if it does, it means that the switch on the battery fixed it in the last video. So let's see.
Here we've got some sort of life. Right, I'm just gonna make sure it's not in gear.
Whoa, 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 no, no, no.
Sweet.
So we're going to go ahead and start disassembling the boot, starting with the seal, and this has revealed quite a lot of rust. We're then going to go ahead and remove the boot latch, the rear lights, the rear bumper, and finally we're going to remove the CD player because that's just added weight that we don't need. So with all that out of the way, we're going to go full send with the sanding, wire brushing, sanding, just blasting all that rust off to get it as clean as possible.
How's it looking?
Got a few holes in it.
I know, it's just a few. It's a little bit worse than we thought, isn't it? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's not horrendous. There's the thing is as soon as you hit it with a knot wheel, it starts to show up all of the holes that you've got, and obviously
we didn't see half of it, did we?
No, and you obviously can't fill in between. You might as well just take it all out. You know, it's going to be patches, but we'll clean it back and it will look spot on. So.
Yeah, exactly. The trim covers this anyway, so as long as it's protected and
yeah, we just want to cut the rust out. Anything else, smear rust treater all over it. Try and convert it back to something like it, and then we'll paint it and protect it, and then it will last another 6 months.
Yes.
Cool, while Steve does that, I'm going to try and attack the rust that's in the actual door shut.
So once again, a massive thank you to Steve from Hatton Ninja Motorsport for allowing me to do all this and give me a massive hand. I do appreciate it. Anyway, to get the door off, we need to start off with the electrical connector and get that off. Then we need to remove the 4 nuts holding it in place, and then very carefully lift it off the car. Now this was a lot harder than it looks, it's quite heavy, but eventually we got it off and it just revealed this absolute mess. Now I'm just blasting it over with the belt sander to see the condition of the metal below, and we're using this rust converter which essentially converts all the rust back into hard, solid and healthy metal, in theory anyway. And after it dried, we soon enough realised that no, this is rotten and it needs to be cut out and replaced with a new plate. So what you're seeing here is Steve reconstructing a plate completely from scratch, and to be fair, he does a cracking job, so fair play. And with that all welded in place, it's time for me to go over with the angle grinder and sand it all back. And then finally we're going to go over with some filler just to make sure we can sand it all back so it looks like an OEM finish. And look at how good that's already looking. And now on to the paint. And whilst we're doing all of this, Steve is reconstructing part of the boot. So I just want to stop the video right there, because if you're familiar with the channel and been watching a little while, you'll know exactly what I'm about to talk to you about, and that is Carly. Now please don't skip this, because I genuinely use this product. It has saved me so much time and money and been so helpful in the past.
Now this is the device that can diagnose your car, code your car, and also read live data. All you have to do is simply plug it into the car, if I can find the OBD port somewhere. There you go. Plug it into your car, then once plugged in, turn your engine on. Load up the app and make sure your car is selected, which as you can see it says Audi A5 8T 2007, which this is, and then click connect. So after a few seconds it's now connected, and the first thing we're going to do is run the diagnostics. And being an old car, I guarantee this is going to be full of issues, so at least we can scan it and then clear them. Okay, I thought there would be more. I only found 10 issues, which I don't think is actually that bad. So it's saying we got a fog light out, and that is correct because it's covered in water. I've got one for the head unit, which I'm guessing because we've got an aftermarket one. And also the EGR issue, which I've known about for a long time, and that needs to be blanked as soon as possible. So now that's cleared, I'm going to turn the car off, turn it back on again, and scan it again to see if those issues come back. And after I scanned it again, he's only come up with 3 issues, so those are the ones I know I need to sort. What's pretty cool as well, if you go over to features, you've got like you can read live data, use car check. Also you can reset like your battery to tell the car it's got a new battery in it, and also you can put it in the brake mode. So on these they've got electric calipers, and when I've had to change the pads in the past, you've basically got to tell the computer to unwind the calipers, or else you just can't unwind them. So this puts them in service mode, so you can do the brakes and then you can turn service mode back off and it will close them. So yeah, that's normally a feature that only a garage can do. Right, so let's quickly see if we can code out the seatbelt reminder, because the amount of times I move the car out my mate's yard, it just keeps buzzing. It's really annoying, so let's turn it off.
Okay, so let's click on coding and then scan the ECUs to see what's available on this car. So it's come up with 3 different ECUs, and the bottom one is the one we need for this. And there we go, at the top, seatbelt reminder, and let's set that to off and then click code.
And just like that, the car is now coded and clear of error codes. Yeah, honestly, this product is seriously good. I use it so often. And if you do want to go ahead and check it out for yourself, then click the link in the description down below, and also use code BRETT24 for some discount off. Anyway, back to the video.
Right, so got bad news. Let me quickly show you.
So I've just been spending the last sort of hour or so going through the boot, and while brushing down every single bit of rust, so every sort of bit of surface rust, and yeah, these are much better, ready for some treatment. See, I've got in behind there and just basically done as much as I can. So this now just needs a clean and then a paint. However, down here, as I was sort of sanding it away, I realised it's actually a hole. Yeah, it's pretty weak there, so it looks like we're going to have to take the wheel off and clean it up from the other side and potentially weld something in there too. So yeah, a little bit of a setback, but I'm glad we found it. Okay, so I found the hole, and yeah, it looks like it's where an old stud used to be, because I can see the rest of the sort of screw there. So yeah, that's, oh yeah, there you go. Definitely needs sorted. I'm glad we found it. It looked like a bit of surface rust to start off with.
And that is now all ready for welding, but moving on, we're going to remove something called bitumen. Now this is essentially sound deadening, and because this is going to be a race car, we don't really need it anymore. And also it's pretty ugly to look at, and it actually weighs quite a bit. So to remove it, we're going to bash it with a hammer to make it crack, and then use a scraper to get it all off. And then once it's off, it leaves this horrible residue which you need to wipe over with some diesel, which sort of lifts up the glue, and then you can wipe it all down with some sawdust, which then dries it and cleans it.
Right, so it's a few days on, and this is all now painted and being covered in lacquer, and to be fair, it looks alright. There's a little bit of overspray on the seal, but we need to replace it because it's ripped there, and also up there. So yeah, I'm happy for now. So later on we can get the door on, but we're going to do something first, which means we can't really put the door on, but I'll explain that in a second. So back here, all the welding is done. We just need to finish off filling it and painting it and sanding down all the metal. But there's one job we want to do, so we're putting this on pause because there's our first modification we want to do and fit to the car. So if you come over here, take your guesses as to what it could be. You've guessed it right, we have got a roll cage, because as you guys know, I'm going to do like a club sport spec with this, and the reason why we've got to do this now is because it's going to make a lot more mess, cutting and drilling holes and welding and stuff like that, and Steve's going to kindly put in the plates and make it so I can just screw in and out the roll cage from the inside. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to get it in place, get it sorted, take it back out, and then it's ready to fit easily in the future.
So before we can put the cage in, we need to remove the old seats and seat belts. And with that all removed, we can carefully put the cage in place just to see what we're working with before we get our measurements.
Right, so we found our first problem. What's happened, Steve?
Someone's jacked the car up and squashed the floor. There, look.
Yeah. Look, in this corner here, there's a crease. And what Steve's saying is they've probably jacked it up, because the jacking point's around here. They've probably...
It's right here, so the jacking point's in there, and it's either slipped off the jack or they've gone in too far and jacked it on the floor.
Yeah. So that isn't too great, so we need to beat that out before we can... Yeah, we need to beat that out before we can actually put the cage flush up against that.
Now with that back in place, we can now put the cage back in and measure it all out properly. We had to remove some extra bitumen that was in the way and remove a few studs just so the cage will sit flush with the chassis. And then it was time to drill the holes for the rear part of the section of the cage. So because we're about to drill holes on a curved surface, it's quite easy for a drill to slip. So we're going to punch a couple holes in place. We're then going to use a small drill piece to make pilot holes before we go in with the actual correct size.
Right, so obviously me and Steve have been trying to fit the roll cage, and we've come across a bit of a design flaw. It's not a design flaw, but it just could be better. Let me quickly show you. So these here are the spreader plates that go on the underside of the car. Now, the actual floor of the car is that sort of shape. So obviously these sandwich the floor, sort of goes in between the floor, and obviously if you had just bolts, it would just pull through the metal, and this basically gives a sort of even amount of pressure. Now at the minute, as they are, it's going to just not sit right, and it's not actually going to be flush to the body of the car. So Steve, being the legend that he is, has bent it in the shape so it will perfectly sandwich it together, and it will look a bit better, it will probably do a better job, and yeah, it should have come like that anyway, but yeah, they're ready to go on the car.
Okay, so the rear part of the cage is now temporarily in place. And to get the bottom part of the cage in place, we need to use something called a porter pack. When cages get welded together, the heat sometimes shrinks them, and also this cage has been delivered to me, so probably in transit it might have been squished or something, but anyway, it doesn't quite fit 100%. So we're going to use this porter pack to stretch it back apart. And then once it's in place, we're going to drill the holes, and this time we don't need to use a pilot hole because we're just drilling through the actual cage holes itself, so that's fine.
Right, so the cage is now in, we've sort of put it in place, and if you come over here, you can see that everything's looking pretty good. What we're going to do now is we're going to put the car up in the air and basically draw an outline of each plate, so then we can take the plates off, and then I can clean up the area. We can then weld the plates on, put some seam sealer and some underguard like paint on it, and then it will save rotting. And also when you look underneath and take the wheels off, you probably won't even notice that the plates are there because it's all going to blend in. So yeah, let's do that now.
And if you are watching up to this point, it probably means you're enjoying what you're seeing, so make sure you click that subscribe button and leave a like on the video. And of course, leave a comment down below of anything you think I can improve on. And with the plates welded onto the chassis, it means I can install and remove the cage myself pretty easily now.
Cool, so the plates have been fitted and we've now taken the cage out, and we're not going to be putting it back in again for a little while because obviously we've got to do the headliner, we've got to do all the pillars, we've got to do the parcel shelf and make this look a little bit prettier. What we're going to do first is I'm using this cardboard as a template because I've got some aluminium, and we're going to make a backboard here. If you think about it, that used to be where the seats are to divide the boot and the car, but now there's nothing there, so I'm going to use this cardboard as a bit of a template, then make a sort of a sheet, an aluminium sheet, and then we can paint it and make it look a little bit better, and then we're probably going to carpet throughout down here.
So I then proceeded to use cardboard to make a template, and Steve wasn't convinced and thought I was a blithering idiot.
If you're having to guess the template and make it again, it's not a template, is it? You've made something that you think might work.
It'll work.
Yeah, I wanted to record you trying to get inside with that.
It's a bit big. Do you think I've got enough?
Don't know.
Look at that.
So I continued to make the template, and I was adamant that it was going to work, and I think it probably would have. But anyway, Steve made me stop, and he took over, and I went and made the tea.
I don't think you can show that mug on YouTube.
No worries, mate.
Let the real men get back to work, see?
Yeah.
Sit down, bud.
Yeah.
So with the tea drank, Steve made his template and then we cut it out with a plasma cutter, which is pretty cool to use. I then used an angle grinder to smooth off all the rough edges. And then to stick it down, I used some clear silicone and then we riveted it together. So that thing is definitely not going anywhere. And there we go, all done. And that looks pretty good if you ask me. And then the final thing for this video is to get the boot all scotched down, sanded, primed and painted. So first off we're scotching and sanding it down, and then we're going to hoover to get rid of all the dust. Spray everything with brake cleaner to degrease it all, and then finally give it a good wipe over with a microfiber cloth. And then it's straight in with some primer. And then onto the paint, and it is looking so much better already. Okay, so it's probably been about a month, 2 months since I last recorded the last part of the video, and it is done, kind of.
So I've had a few complications, which meant I've kind of had to rush this video and not do the best of finish as I would have liked to, but we're going to come back to it in the future, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it's not too bad, and at least it's sealed. But I have put the battery in, and I've also put in the clip for the battery and painted it with Hammerite just to clean it up a little bit, and I've also fitted this brand new seal all the way around from Bmw, which cost about £80, but now it is actually sealed, which is good. So, since we're trying to make this car in the best condition as possible, these old taillights aren't really going to cut it. The seals are gone on them, they're absolutely hanging, and I'm assuming that these seals don't actually seal properly, which is the reason why it actually started rusting in the first place. And also, I'm pretty sure, maybe they've dried out now, but the other day they were absolutely full of water. So, yeah, they've got to go. And these are the ones that are going to replace it, some depot taillights. Yes, look at that. Okay, they look so much better. And ignore the fact that I haven't got a rib plate on. I took it off just to examine the actual extent of the damage, and as you can tell, yeah, it's pretty rotten, so we need a new boot lid. So if any of you guys or anybody that you know is selling a rear E36 coupe boot lid, let me know and I'll buy it from them. But that is probably where I'm going to wrap up today's video. It's been a bit of a messy one, and let me just show you the current state of the car. So obviously what we've done on the boot looks pretty good, but we are going to come back to it and properly give it a good once over once again, just to smoothen out everything. And I want to repaint that because it doesn't look too great. But yeah, we can come back to that in the future, but at least it's all sealed and weatherproof. The lights have gone on pretty well, but the seal once again around here isn't quite perfect, so we can come back to that, but it's on for now. And yeah, let me just show you the front of the car. It's in a bit of a state. So yeah, I think I have some explaining to do. We took the roll cage back out because I obviously need to fit all of the top trims, like the headliner, the pillars, and also the parcel shelf before we can put it back in and then make like a cool boot build. But obviously, because I do all my work at Hatton Engine Motorsport and obviously Steve's unit, it becomes a little bit hard for me to do like certain jobs because I need to take the car out pretty much every single time I'm done with it for the day. So it's not been ideal, and this is kind of why I've had to rush certain bits, because it's not as if I could leave it in there, let the paint dry, then do the next step. I had to sort of push it out, and it's not ideal, but we've got something coming very, very soon, which is going to change that and change the whole channel. But if you guys have watched to the end of this part of the video, you guys have had a bit of a hint as to what's coming. But I'm actually heading down to Shedfest in about a week or so, and that means that this car needs to drive there. Yeah, you heard that, drive there. And Shedfest is 5 hours away in Leicester, and this thing hasn't even got front seats yet. So yeah, we need to get the front seats in, we need to get the harnesses in. I'm not going to worry about anything else. I just want to get to Shedfest, I can come back and then continue the series. And also, you guys probably remember that the clutch is pretty, well, non-existent, so we need to get that sorted as well. And the reason why the carpet is not in there is because I've taken it out to let it fully dry, because it was a little bit damp. But that, everybody, is where I'm going to end the video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. It's probably like a size of a movie, but it is what it is. But anyway, nevertheless, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, and also subscribe. And trust me, the videos I got coming soon, and I know they say this all the time, but genuinely are going to be a game changer. I got big, big things for the channel. But anyway, I'll catch you guys very, very soon.